Good day and good morrow to thee, my loyal subjects. My name is MiAh the King, and today we're taking a look at a game that just came out on Steam earlier this morning called Blackwind. Developed by Drakkar Dev and published by Glowfish Studios and Gamera Game, this game is advertised on the Steam store page as follows. Blackwind is a top-down sci-fi action game that puts you in the shoes of a teenager trapped inside a prototype battle armor suit during an alien invasion. Face off against enemies, cut through their ranks, and fight back to stop a planetary invasion. The game says that it's a hack and slash action adventure with mechs, and of course, more action. See it? See it right there? Why did they need it twice? Because obviously action adventure and action just aren't the same thing. So basically, yeah, that description totally describes all that this game has to offer. You are indeed some kid called, I don't remember, but I know that his family name is Hawkins because he won't shut up about it while you're fighting. Also, the game is charging $25. Along with the things mentioned previously, the game allows you to customize the look of your mech, gather these blue orb thingies while you're fighting, which are basically upgrade points, and in the same menu that you can change the look of your mech, you can also upgrade the damage, health, like damage of your guns, health of your mech, and other fun little perks and skills that's just going to change or improve or just, well, change the way that you fight and survive in this game. But other than that, I'd like to go into the positive points first, because honestly, that's what stuck out to me first. But please stay tuned and watch the whole video, alright? I got some stuff I need y'all to hear about this game later on. Number 1, so first up for the positives is the sound effects. The music and the overall sound effects themselves, basically. The laser blasters, the laser swords, the missiles you launch out of your mech, like all these things you use to fight, they sound appropriate. The aliens sound like aliens. The mech you control sounds like a mech should, and the music is actually really nice. I enjoyed the music, and even now I'm hearing it in my head. That means it left a good impression. So for those, the game did great. Number 2, the graphics. While the art of the characters isn't that grand, the art on everything else is really well done in my opinion. The lighting effects of sunlight and darkness and the flashlight attached to your head, the colors of the lasers and the bug guts and the sharp lights contrasting against the dark colors around them to make them stand out. I mean, it all looks really good and it just fits the theme of this game perfectly. Number 3, ease of play. The game is fairly easy to understand. It doesn't take a lot of time to figure out what you're doing and how the game plays and what you need to do. I mean, the tutorial was kind of lacking, but for such a simple game, I suppose it did its job fairly well, and it was there, even though it probably wasn't needed. So, thank you for that. But hey, I say that, but I still believe a tutorial is always needed. Number 4, the game's stability. The game was rather smooth, at least for me. It never crashed or froze or even lowered its frames. Overall, the whole thing was just super smooth for me, and I only have one minor complaint, and that's that my guy and his mech would sometimes clip through the walls. Other than that, I didn't get stuck there, and it never broke on me. Even when I thought that I got stuck once, after just a few seconds, he kind of reset himself. So, that was nice. Okay, so that's all I got for the positives. Now on to the negatives. Now hang on tight, because I got a lot to say. Also, just a real quick, brief, fast little tidbit I'd like to beg for. Please help my channel grow. Please share the video, please like, please leave a comment, and if you agree with my opinions, then subscribe and join my kingdom of nothing. My channel is small and growing slowly, and YouTube doesn't like to promote or advertise small channels like mine, so any and all help that anyone out there could provide by doing the things I mentioned would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So, now we're going to go on to the negatives. Number 1, the voice acting. Holy crap, was it bad. I saw the negative reviews and thought to myself, it can't be that bad. Then I started watching the opening cutscene and thought to myself, well, the father is kind of bad, but the teenage son seems to be doing a pretty good job. But then as I got to listen to him speak while fighting and further on in the story and sounding how forced and robotic it was, I was forced to reconsider my opinion. But this right here took the cake. Listen, just listen to this.
How do I get to the lower levels?
You have to use the main elevator, but we locked the door. You will find the code to unlock it in the dorms. Good luck, Hawkins. You'll need it.
I mean, holy cow, it's like she was trying to be bad. Or she was given the script in such a horrible format that it forced her to talk in such a poor way. And it doesn't get any better, folks. It's just cringe to listen to. It was so bad, I had to restart up my recordings just so I could catch as much of it as I could so I could show it to you guys. Number 2. The gameplay. Now, while there might be some people who disagree with me, let me first point out that the gameplay isn't the worst, but it's just not good enough to me. It's not engaging to me. Once you've seen his ending kill combo on each alien, it's just the same thing over and over again. And unlike in other games like God of War, when you do those final killing blows, you just really felt it. You felt him ripping off their arms or whatever, Here, it's just kind of meh. And the gameplay overall just got so boring after the first hour that I felt myself slogging through point to point. Not to mention the game is super easy even on normal mode. I mean, the aiming is really off, sometimes your gun locks onto random objects rather than following your cursor, and sometimes even when pointed dead on an alien with your cursor, he's still missing his shots. Sometimes when you're moving your cursor around while you got to click to hold to aim for him to shoot, so when you're holding the click to aim button, his arm doesn't move at all sometimes, or it just zips really fast. It makes no sense. He's always missing his shots. Plus, the controls are just rather hard to manage on the PC, and they make it hard to do just simple jumps. I mean, I was just bored. Playing a teenage boy in a fancy military mech with lightsaber-like blades on his hands, slashing through hundreds of alien guts, and I was bored. And the controls were frustrating. Number 3, the camera. Oh my god. That camera control. Okay, first off, you have no control over your camera at all, because it's a top-down shooter, so your mouse has to be used to aim. But the game tries so hard to give you different angles and views around the terrain and around your character while you're adventuring around, that it's just a huge detriment. Half the time I can barely see where I'm going or what I'm doing. It doesn't give you enough of a wide view to look ahead, which makes the puzzles that the game gives you trying to solve super difficult. I mean, here's a small clip of me trying to figure out a puzzle and couldn't because of the crappy direction of the game and the horrible camera movements. You see what I mean? I was stuck in that puzzle for like 10-15 minutes, all because the angle of the camera wasn't good enough for me to see that there was a certain button I had to push off on some different direction. And then there was the camera angle was so off and the view not wide enough that I couldn't tell where exactly I even had to go, which made it even more difficult for me to figure out what I had to do. Turns out I had to push both buttons that I needed that were in the area. Then I needed to go back and unpush one button, and then I needed to go back, and it was just a nightmare. It was so frustrating. Number 4. The game is unoriginal and the writing is bland. Now I know this is supposed to be a shoot 'em up kind of game, so the story is supposed to be in the background while the combat and gameplay are supposed to be in the foreground. But even so, that doesn't excuse bad writing or a horrible idea. And I want to point out, it's not that this is a horrible idea, I was just using that as an example. The idea of someone plopping down on an alien planet and being thrust into a situation they didn't want, with a family member dead or in danger or missing, and they need to explore and fight their way out, being forced into a situation they didn't want to be forced in. I mean, it's not very original at all. They almost succeeded by creating a bit of lore and a bit of story of why you're there and where you are, but it just didn't work very well in my own personal opinion, and the kid doesn't make any sense to me either. He's a teenage kid, I get it, but what teenage kid gets into this giant mech battlesuit and automatically knows how to use it like a skilled warrior, and he just goes around having fun slashing through aliens? I mean, wouldn't that be a little bit traumatizing? You know, just a thought. But he doesn't act traumatized at all. He acts like some kind of sick serial killer. Number 5. The missed potential. Look, I know these guys wanted to make an action-adventure game, a top-down shooter game, but all I see while playing this game was the missed potential here. First off, the game is single player. You can't play it with a buddy, which would have been awesome. Now, it says that you can do shared screen co-op, and you could probably do the remote sharing co-op mode that Steam offers. But if they went through that much trouble, then why not just make it online co-op like normal, like other games? Plus, I couldn't find the option anywhere here for co-op. You know, when I started the new game, there was no option, there was no nothing, there wasn't even a mention of it in the tutorial. So it's like they're, you know, angling it to be a single-player game and just tacked on the possible co-op just in case. You know, they half-assed it. So, I mean, is it supposed to be just a plug in a controller and you hop in? I mean, if that's the case, then who is the second shooter supposed to be? The only character in the game is the father and the son, and they get separated, so how is that going to be explained via the storyline? But that's not all. All I kept thinking was, if this game was more RPG, then it could have been an amazing, different style of game. I mean, imagine being an adult and not a teenager, part of an elite team that goes to infested planets or planets under attack, and getting to jump in there with your team. Maybe it's a co-op, maybe it's single player, I don't know. Maybe you can choose your own dialogue, you know, make further customization to your suit or even your ship, have relations and whatnot, go to different sections of the universe and explore the lore and whatnot. I mean, I'd love for a game like that, but in a similar style to this one. But they didn't want to do that. They just wanted a top-down shooter. And in my personal opinion, they wasted too much possible potential on this. And not only that, they didn't even do a very good job of making it a top-down shooter in the first place. Number 6. The enemies are basically the same thing over and over again with very little deviation. They'll give you one shield, they'll give one like a shield or something, and be like, hey, look, a new enemy. No, it's not. It's just the same as before, but now with a shield. Will it change in 3 or 4 hours in? Maybe, but not in those first 2 hours it didn't. Not only that, but the level designs are crap. Desert, then inner facility, then a new desert that looks just like the last one but with construction equipment. Ooh. Then another inner facility that looks just like the last one, but not trashed. I mean, come on. In those first 2 hours at least, I've expressed this so many times on my channel over the last few years. In the first 2 hours of your gameplay, you need to make your game fun, engaging, exciting, reveal all the really good stuff in the beginning so people love your game, and then you can introduce the more boring, sluggish, repetitive stuff, because then people would be more willing to trudge through that to get to the good stuff, to keep progressing because they already enjoy the game. But if you're going to give me the worst you have in the beginning, why on earth would I keep the game and bother to continue playing? So, that's all I got to say about the pros and the cons. So for my final thoughts, I think the game isn't that great. It's not really fun, which is its whole point. If it can't do voice acting, writing, level design, or give me good gameplay, then what does it have left? The crappy camera controls? The boring and tame customization of your mech? I'm sorry, but for $25, this game just isn't worth it. Technically, they don't lie in their advertisements. They make the game look really good and look really fun. But other than looking good, the game doesn't offer me anything else that really pulls me back in. I played for an hour, maybe a little bit longer, experienced what the rest of the game is going to be like in that time frame, and realized it's not that fun, and definitely not worth me spending the next 10 hours going through it because it would just be a chore. If it had had a great story or a great plot, great gameplay, you know, if it was fun, then I could get past a lot of other things. You know, even a game that doesn't look good or sound good but has great gameplay can speak volumes. Look at Mountain Blade Warband, you know, but it didn't have that. So here, I simply couldn't get past the negatives because it didn't have any really good thing going for it. I mean, the only good thing going for it was the graphics, and to me, that's just not enough. Not in my personal opinion. I just think that just because it looks good doesn't mean it is good. So, my recommendation is to steer clear of this game, guys. It's just not worth its asking price, which is a darn shame because a cool top-down shooter like this in co-op would have been really fun to play with my brother. But unfortunately, this one just looks like a cool top-down shooter, but it actually isn't once you get into it. It's actually kind of lame and cringy and dull and boring. And since the only thing it had really going for it as a top-down shooter was its fun and engaging gameplay, and since it failed, I can safely say that this game failed. So that's all I got to say for this episode, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it or at least found it informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear if you guys have any questions or concerns down in the comments below, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.